All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here, and we are live broadcasting from Judea. Sorry about my voice a little bit, but that's just because I've been playing out in the snow with the family. It is mucho snowing here in Judea, which is just awesome. It's a gift from Hashem. It feels amazing out there, and my kids and I and Malka were Malka especially. She was lobbing these snowballs right in my face, and I don't know where she got the. I don't know. She was yelling this like Indian yell as she was throwing them, like la 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 la. So I called her Snokahantas because she was really very effective in her warlike snowballs. But for us here in Judea, it's very special to feel this feeling of the snow. It comes maybe once or twice a year, and it's going to be snowing all night, and the kids are just excited. It's just a big deal around here. You know, Israel is a sunny country; it's a Middle Eastern country, but up here in these 1,000 meters above sea level, we get once or twice a year of snow, and it's also very good for the certain plants that grow here, including the olives and the grapes, and that's why some of the wines from these regions of Samaria, Judea and Samaria, are some of the best. And to us, a snow event in Judea is very much part of the story of the Jewish people returning to the land of Israel and living with the wonders of this land, its challenges, the beauty of the state of Israel, and the less than beauty of the state of Israel. It's all part of it, and sometimes the snow itself is this thing that puts a white coating on everything, and you're like, I could see God's grace, I could see the beauty. I look past things, and the cold also gives you kind of a rebirth. And for us, all of these things is organic, and just an organic part of Zionism, and the life in the land of Israel, and we're just living it. But when you're out there outside of the land of Israel, and you're in high school, on campus, you could very well be totally. You'll never see the snow of Judea, in the sense that you're never seeing the beauty of these things. You're constantly told that your country, Israel, is a bad country. Now, what does that do to a Jewish kid? What does that do to a Jewish kid when he's told over and over again that his country is a thief and an occupier and a colonialist? I mean, not only does it make you feel like your homeland is not a good one, it makes you doubt something about the whole of your identity. Because if the country that represents you is not good, then either you want to distance yourself from that country, and you certainly don't want to associate yourself with the country's name, which is the name of your peoplehood, like Israel or Judea. That's like, so you don't really want to be Jewish or Israeli. And that contentious word Zionist, that word Zionist is used by the enemies of Israel as a bludgeon. It's like a bad word. It's like equal to colonialist, that kind of thing. And of course, um, for us, the word Zionism is the most beautiful word in the world. It means the return to Zion, the building of Zion, the building of Jerusalem. It's a biblical sweet name for Yerushalayim. It's a kind of what's the word? Shem Chiba, we say in Hebrew, like an affectionate name, Zion. So we all know more or less that these problems exist, but sometimes there are people who take it upon themselves to fight for these truths, and say enough is enough. A lot of us all are like, "Ush, this is bad. This is really bad." And then there's a few people amongst us who are like, "Yeah, this is bad, but this has got to be fought." And my friend Masha is the founder of Club Z, which is Zionism for Teens. Listen to these words: Zionism for Teens. These are not simple words at all. Zionism for Teens in North America, not just, but that's mainly where it's touching young lives. It started in. I'm going to say another thing. I'm going to say Zionism for Teens in the San Francisco Bay Area, in Northern California. This is the heart of anti-Israelism. This is the heart of progressive thinking, which is so anathema to Jewish rights in Judea and to the word Zionism. And yet exactly in this tough spot is where Masha and a dedicated team of people started Club Z, and now it's a national organization that just had a phenomenal conference in Florida with some of Israel's top speakers and pro-Israel speakers. And so the fight is being fought, and I'm very, very pleased to have Masha Merkulova with us right now. Let's see if we can get her on the screen together. Masha,
Oh,
shalom.
shalom, Ishai. Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful to see you. Really.
Yes, it's great. It's great to be with you here. It's fun, and I just want to say that my producer Lou says it's only raining in Modi'in, but he says we look good and sound good. And Lou, I'd love you to give me a sound check for Masha as well. And we are live, Masha. I want to say to you, you are doing such great work. My introduction was so, what I really wanted to say is that and how courageous it has been of you to start Club Z. Why don't we just start first with this word Zionism? Like in some circles, boy, that's like a bad word. And yet you choose very much to use this word when dealing with the teens that you engage with. Tell me about that.
Well, listen, I mean, that's sort of like the how do you treat something? You can't address something if you cannot name it. And Club Z, Z stands for Zionism. I wanted to be right there in the name, and I wanted the
Hmm.
teens to understand, right? This big part of what we do is the Jewish identity work, and the Jewish identity work is done through the lens of Zionism, right? We're a people, we're one. Um, but yeah, listen, we have our students who are now being called Zionist supremacist. And I'm
Right.
like, great. Yes, yes, I am. I strongly believe, or we strongly teach, that Zionism is a Jewish liberation movement, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And our students are, they're fired by it. They're excited about it. Teenagers love to fight, so let's give them a good fight that they can
Right.
actually be proud to participate in.
Hmm. Yeah. So I just debated this guy named Amir Zaher, and he uses that term supremacism a lot. And just on a legal and historical and plain definitional discussion, nationalism is always a type of supremacism, but that's not the right word. It just means local peoples have self determination over their lands, and that's called the birth of nations. That's called national self determination. It means that tribes live in their lands and that they belong to their lands, and their lands belong to them, and that's where they have their culture and their calendar and their language. And so this term supremacism, it's a cudgel. It's just the thing they hit you with, but there's nothing supremacist about Japan on the Japanese island or the Hungarians in Hungary or the French in France. That's nationalism. There's something beautiful about the return of peoples to their ancestral lands. And that's a big word out there. But how do your young people, the young people that Club Z is touching, like how do they have they been when they get called these names, like how do they respond to that? How do they know how to be like it's not supremacism, it's nationalism. That's a beautiful thing, especially in America, especially in northwestern on the Californian north. How do you know how to answer these things?
Well, listen, we have to remember that we do live in a progressive society. No matter like, yes, Florida was great. I didn't need to explain to Floridians what Zionism is. But even the word nationalism, right, has bad connotations.
Right.
So a
Exactly.
lot of work is done on unpacking what does it mean to be a nation. And this is why Club Z takes it's a big commitment for anybody to join, because we're doing a big job that, unfortunately, again, I don't want to be like, oh, we're doing such a good job and everybody else isn't. But everybody else isn't, because if Jews in America still think that Judaism is a religion in 2022, that means we have failed our Jewish education.
Hmm.
And if Jews in America still think and call Israel an apartheid state, you know, we could do talking points until we're blue in the face, but it's not going to help us. We need to raise a generation after generation of Jews who understand that you cannot take Zionism out of a Jew, right? Like you cannot say, "Oh, I'm a Jew, but I'm not a Zionist." That's like it's an oxymoron. Or now we have a new movement, you know, people of color. So now we have Jews of color. What does that mean? Am I white? I'm a Jew. Jews are not white. So stop separating us. Stop doing
Hmm.
this. We're doing it to ourselves.
So
So
so I hear, and I of course know you very well for many years, but I also hear a bit of a Russian accent, and that Russian accent is because you're a product of the former Soviet Union. That's where you were born, like my parents, like my family as well. And one of the things that Russian Jews know very well, and is just part of the Russian Jewish ethos, and it's really part of the Russian ethos, which is there are ethnicities, there are groups, and Jews are a ethnic group called Jews. Like
correct.
there's Tatars, and then there's Jews.
In my
Uh,
Soviet passport, it was my name, right? My date of birth and nationality, Jew. So, you know, it's hard for Russian Jews. For Russian Jews, it's very easy to understand.
right. But in America, you're not taught that you're a peoplehood. And if your skin color happens to be whitish, you're kind of lopped in. When I was a little kid, not a little kid, when I just got to America and first taking standardized tests, I remember that they would be like, "Are you white Caucasian?" And I would be like, "Other." I always wrote other as a kid. I never even asked my parents. I wrote other, and I used to write Hebrew Semite. Okay.
Nice.
That was the way I was like, no,
Mhm.
I'm not a Caucasian. I don't know anything about the Caucasus. I'm not from the Caucasus. I'm from Judea, right? Um, but again, back to American Jews, they are taught that Judaism is a religion, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just had Shabbat lunch with a few young couples, and for them it was a revelation. Revelation, like, oh, Judaism is not a religion. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's talk about it. So it's, again, it's a matter of education, but it's also a matter of connecting, right? And that's another reason why Russia, who galvanized the community this past May and hosted, pro-Israel rallies when Israel was getting shelled by Hamas rockets. It was, for the most part, it was Russian Jews, because we are still very much, we have relatives, we have friends in Israel. It's not just something out there. It is very much part of our everyday life,
Hmm.
and we're not confused. We're not, there's no confusion for us.
Although I've heard that even Russian Jews complain that their children growing up in America have been, and I know many strong Zionist, nationalist, conservative American Russian Jews whose children have become taken up by progressivism, by and therefore the narrative of occupation, apartheid,
Right?
colonialism, and these narratives that are anti-Israel that are fomented in the progressive world.
Listen, nobody's immune to it unless you take a vaccination. I'm sorry. I know it's a controversial term lately, but the way I used to describe Club Z all those years ago is that we are the vaccine. We will help your child understand all these terminologies, understand what when somebody says from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. This is a call of genocide. This is a call for destruction of the Jewish people, nothing else, right? But if a Jewish kid goes to a Jewish day school and then high school and then a youth movement, and all they talk about are, cherry tomatoes and Innovation Nation, and great, yes, to all of that, but that's not the conversation they're having on college campus or in their classrooms now in high school and sometimes in middle school. They're having conversations about Edward Said's work of Orientalism, of colonialism, white supremacists, like all of these things. And we are the worst parents in the history of the world because we're sending our kids to a battleground naked. We don't give them any skills. We don't
Mhm.
give them any armor. We give them nothing. We give them, like, just you know what? Keep your head down. Go to Hillel for Shabbat dinner. and come home for, a Seder. And it's like, that's not going to work. You need to give them tools, you need to give them knowledge. And the most important, you need to create the network, you need to create the community. So when something happens on one college campus, they have a whole bunch of their friends on other college campuses that could help them.
Right. Now, where does Judaism, yes, fit into this thing? Like, where does Shabbat or prayer or the commandments of that we received at Sinai, like where does that fit into Club Z and this moment of the attack of progressivism? Is that the right word, by the way? Progressivism? Do you agree with that word? Is that the right? But where does Judaism fit into Zionism and the education that Club Z is giving?
Do you mean like religious observance and practices? What do you mean?
Judaism, like Shabbat. Okay, can we like and the Shabbat is a great example. Just
Shabbat is
where does that fit into the ethos of what you're trying to teach these young people?
so the way we approach it is, we are a people, we come from Abraham, and we have a long line. I have to tell you, we don't do a lot of quote unquote religious education or ritual, just because we have such limited time that if I could run the Zionist school, right, full-time school, it'll be there. But we do Shabbat dinners, we do Avdallah if we meet on Saturday night. We do, I pick so to skip obscure Jewish holidays, obscure for American Jews, like Tu B'Shvat and Lag BaOmer, because they're not heavily celebrated here. And I consider them very Zionist holidays. And so we bring the Jewish ritual that way. Um,
Very good. Okay, I understand. I understand what you're saying. It's just it's I don't how hard is it for young people out there? Like tell me about the young people that come, the teenagers that come to be part of Club Z. Is it for them to overcome a hurdle, or have they been looking for an answer and this is the answer that they're looking for, or is there like a reticence to now say, yes, I'm a Zionist, I am a Jew, I'm a proud Jewish Judean, and I think Jews have rights in these places?
well, they get there after they've been to Club Z for a year or two.
Hmm.
But most of them come because something happened to them
Mm.
at school, and
Really?
they're looking for something, they're looking to connect with somebody, or they don't want to feel so alone. um, Large portion of our kids come from Russian Jewish families, and we parent differently than American Jews or even Israelis. We don't ask our teenagers if they want to do something. We tell our teenagers that they're going to do something. And so that's how a lot of kids come to Club Z, and then they stay. Like, pretty much 9 out of 10 kids that comes to Club Z because their parents made them, they'll stay. Um, but I'll give you one example. So we made sweatshirts, hoodies, and on the front of a hoodie we have an image of Israel. It's 4 inches, just an outline of Israel, and it says Israel on it because I want it to be very clear, right? And we have a ninth grader that goes, she does rowing. She's on a team for rowing. So after the practice, she puts on her hoodie, getting ready to leave. And her teammate comes and he goes, "Oh, is this Israel?" "Yes." This is a very controversial image. "Are you a Zionist?" Right? So he was harassing her for months
Wow.
until, yeah, "Are you a supremacist? Did you know that Israeli soldiers kill Arab babies? We're practically eating Arabs, for breakfast." That's what kids are facing. We have another student. She's an 11th grader, and in December, her teacher. It was a U.S. history class, and the teacher is saying, I quote to you: "Kristallnacht was a battle that spurred was no Kristallnacht was a battle in Germany that spurred American military action in World War II. This is a history class. This is a teacher who is teaching. So, what does she do? Through series of various conversations, email demands, uh, she gave a class period to our student to teach them about Holocaust and about Israel, right? And so that's what kids are facing. It's actually unbelievable.
So, Masha, I just want to tell you that on my Facebook page, I have, and we are live also on my Facebook page, and I have quite a few anti Israel folks, haters, and I keep them on, and I don't get rid of them because I actually want people to see what people face. And so, right now, this recurring kind of anti Israel person named Eva writes, most of you Zios. Now, this is term Zios is this kind of funky new term, as though the word Zionist is some kind of negative term for us. So you say Zios, like you're Jerusalemites. Like, okay, Zionism is it's not, there's nothing negative about that. It's like calling me sweetie. Most of you Zios come from USA, Russia, etc., not Abraham. So there's an immediate denial of our heritage, of our peoplehood. The Palestinian people are the descendants from Jews in Jesus' time, which is a replacement theology type language, which is to say that the Palestinians, which is a very brand new a grouping a renamed grouping of Arabs today, most of which came in the last 100 years. Now these people are the real Jews; they're the descendants. So Zios are actually killing their own people now. Not only that, but there's the blood libel accusation of murder against Palestinians, which is simply not true. There have been more people killed, murdered in inner city Detroit than in the whole Arab-Israeli conflict in 2021. And so, meaning to say, I just compared that because I happened to look up in my debate, and I looked up how many people were being murdered in inner city Detroit because I was debating this guy Ahmed Amr Zahir. In any case, this Eva is exactly the kind of hate and lies and blood libel that young people face and that I face on my page. I keep her stuff and other people's stuff like that on my page in order so that people see what we're really facing. And I'm really glad that Eva took the time to write some more of her hate speech here. But that's exactly what people are facing. What do you think about what she says?
Honestly, I love it. Eva, so let's do this. Yes, let's do a DNA test, right? And test. So who are some of the Arabs that live right now in what we call Palestine? Oh, oops, they're ethnically Jews who've lived there for thousands of years, who were then forcibly converted into Islam. But if you look in their homes, they still have holes from mezuzahs. So yes, Eva, let's talk about that. Also, let's talk about where does the word Palestine comes from. I'm sorry, what? Oh, Arab colonialists who renamed it because they couldn't stand the Jews. Eva, sit down. Learn your history, please.
Okay, interesting. With regarding to you
But
and I have
she also called Palestinians are not Arabs. Yes, traditionally Palestinians are Jews. My grandma was called Palestinian because, that's what Jews were called until half a second ago. But no, Eva, Arabs are now co-opted and they want to be called Palestinians.
I just want to say hi to a lot of my friends that are coming from all over the place. Let's see. Let's see. We got Eminence, who has the cool Israeli flag. Thank you very much. And we have Stacy, who says freezing cold and snowing in Michigan. We have our good friend Erica, all the way from Sweden. Erica, haven't heard from you in a while. God bless you. And let's see what else. And Lou says nationalism is a good thing. It was given a bad name by the evil Nazis, but of course, Nazis were not nationalists. They were imperialists, right? They wanted to grab land, not to live in their own ancestral land, and so
Yeah.
that's a big difference. Patrice says hello from Utah, and Yelena says
Mm.
hello from South Florida with love. Yelena, one of our folks. God bless you, Yelena. It's good to hear from you. And of
Lots of things.
course, my good friend Johan Bilu George says, Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. It's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. Okay, let's start wrapping up. But before we do, let's just talk about the conference. You had some really good folks at the conference. You had Ryan Belarus, who's a Native American, American, what you would call it. Sometimes they call themselves American Indian. And you also had Yosef Haddad, who's an Israeli Arab or Israeli Christian Arab,
Mhm.
speaking. So you had all kinds of folks who are coming to a love of Israel and Zionism from different perspectives. Tell me about the conference and how it went, and what was the highlight?
Oh my God, the conference was absolutely amazing. First of all, it was the first time these teens got together in person. We had over 100 teens from all over the country, and it really brought everybody together. So we had Yosef Haddad, who spoke about the fact that he is unabashedly, pro-Israel Arab, who almost lost his life fighting for his country,
Right.
right? And he's very proud of that fact. And he's a living, example of what apartheid. What are you talking about? And then we had Ryan Belrose from Métis tribe, and it was, I always bring Ryan because he is just, who better can explain that Jews are from Judea, that we're an indigenous people that belong to our ancestral homeland, than another indigenous person who is still fighting to go back to his ancestral homeland.
Right.
Um, we also had Richard Kemp, which is just an absolute treasure of an ally for the Jewish
Right.
people.
Richard Kemp, of course, British colonel who served in Afghanistan and many other places, and writes vociferously for Jewish rights and against the apartheid narrative. He just had an article in Gatestone, a very important article about the KGB collusion with the Palestinian movement to create the apartheid narrative. Very important.
Right. And we also had Pastor Dumisani Washington, who wrote a book about Blacks in America and Zionism and connection of Israel to Africa, and what an important role Israel has played to the various states in Africa. And
Hmm.
so it was just really great for the teens to see all these amazing people who are not even Jews, who are doing their part of stepping up and speaking up and being unafraid. And the whole theme was really, we can't afford anymore to just learn and to be knowledgeable. We need an army of activists, we need an army of advocates who are going to be on the ground, calling out their teachers, calling out their classmates, calling out the administrators, and being extremely, just being proud of who you are. Being proud of who you are also demands you to be unafraid. And the big theme was, you know, it's time to speak up. And I tell the teens, you have to understand, you are not defending Israel. Israel does not need a little Sam or a little Sarah to defend Israel. Israel can take care of Israel. What you need to understand is that when Israel is attacked, it's the Jews who are getting attacked. So if you consider yourself part of the Jewish people, you have to understand, if they could attack you, they will, right? The hostage synagogue taking, right? He didn't go anywhere else. He went to the Jews.
Right.
So it is attack against not Israel, it's attack against the Jews. So have the self dignity and self respect to call it out and to defend yourself and defend your brothers and sisters.
Very good, very good. And also, we have more of our Russian Jewish connection. We have Zelig Krimko saying, sending love to both of you from the Catskill Mountains. God bless you, my friend Zelig. And Erica from Sweden says, Toda Yishai, so true. I wasn't on the lives, but I've heard all the podcasts. Blessings. God bless you, Erica. And thank you so much for being part of it. And I want to thank you so much, Masha, for what you're doing with Club Z. I think it's mucho importante. Okay. And I want everybody to check out clubz.org and start sending your kids or your friends' kids to a movement that will give them their pride back and give them their strength. Of course, together with, it's like it comes together, right? There's like Zionism, there's Judaism. It's all part of a pretty complex identity. And the fullest name of it all is Israel. That's like our super name. When we get together and we are part of our land, we're part of our heritage. We peel off the shirt and it says Israel. Okay,
Right.
that's the Jewish people reborn in our land, and an ancient promise coming true, and a peoplehood that has survived through thick and thin and through the Holocaust to be re-embodied in our land in our time. Masha, thank you so much, Club Z. Looking forward to the conference. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit jealous when I looked at the playlist. I was like, oh, I wish I was there also. Maybe God will be kind to
20,
me. And
2023,
that's right.
2023, February 15th through 17th. You're going to be there. You're going to be
Bezrat
there.
Hashem, with the help of God. Thank you very much. And
All
God
right.
bless you. And thank you very much, Masha. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, folks, you are listening to the Yishai Fleischer Show, and there are great folks out there who take steps to be courageous and to get things done. I know you're part of it if you're listening to this show, and thank you for being a lover of Israel all over the world, of course, here in Israel, but around the world as well. Thank you so much, and it's so wonderful to be on this fabulous platform and connected to people around the world. Please visit my coffee page if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. It's really easy. It's buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. It's a great way to support the show. Check out our podcast, which is the Yishai Fleischer Israel podcast, every single week. And this week, of course, Masha was on, but we'll also have the Torah section, so you can get through the Torah portion with lots of interesting laws. And of course, Malka Fleischer will be joining us. So great ladies, great fighters on the show today. The catch-all website is yishaifleischer.com, and it's got everything that you may need. And I want to thank Moshe Herman, Yocheved, Tabitha, Ben Bresky, and Lou for helping the show get out to the net waves on the internet and connecting with you wherever you are. And of course, we always like to thank Hashem, God Almighty, for the blessing of living in this great time of rebirth. And outside of this window right now is beautiful, huge flakes of snow in Judea. Fabulous. Check out on the Facebook page below this program on a post earlier on, me and Malka in the snow, just having a great time out there. So thank you, Hashem, for the great, you know who's really thanking you, Hashem? The grapevines, because they love the snow, they love the frost. There's going to be great wine from the land of Israel. So, all right, folks, God bless you. Thank you so much. David Zaman says, great stuff. Thank you, David. And great stuff right back to you. More great stuff is on the way. Stay tuned, stay strong, stay connected, and shalom.